Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes' Tottenham blog and today's Champions League draw live stream. So the draw is scheduled to start in about 5 or so minutes, and obviously I can't stream the draw itself, but I'm going to be giving you my commentary and letting you know which teams Tottenham get as the draw progresses. So of course Tottenham are in pot 2 for the draw this year, which I think is the highest we've ever been actually. We've been in pot 3 for quite a few years now, and that has led to us getting groups of death. Last year of course we had Inter Milan and Barcelona, and the year before Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. But look, so far we've gotten through the really tough draws, and today, just even looking at the pots, this is probably going to be our easiest draw since in this run of the Champions League that we've been in. So I'll just go through the pots in a second. I'm just trying to set up this stream. For those who are watching on the live stream replay, I have of course a few things down in the description if you want to go and check them out. I have a Facebook group that I'm running mainly for Tottenham fans. There'll be a few of other teams in here today. But mainly for Tottenham fans, if you want to go down and join that, links in the description. I also have a fantasy football league that I'm doing, again for Tottenham fans. But look, if there's anyone else who does want to join the fantasy football league, go ahead. And I also have a second channel, which is a Premier League channel, which I know will be of more interest to some of the people in here today. So if you want to go and join and subscribe to that channel, I'll be uploading on it soon. I'm trying to get it up and running and get some bit of a following with 50 people before I do start uploading on that one. So yeah, make sure you go and check that out. But for now, I'm going to go through the pots for the Champions League draw today. And as I said, of course, Tottenham in pot 2. But so the way it works, basically, if you don't already know, is one team from each pot will end up in each group. So there's going to be one of the top teams from pot 1, a team from pot 2, a team from pot 3, a team from pot 4, which is the best way to do it. It's all seeded and stuff like that. So in pot 1, basically, that consists of the UEFA Champions League and Europa League holders. So of course at the moment that is Liverpool and Chelsea. So they're the top 2 teams in pot 1. Rankings within the pot don't matter. It's just whichever pot you're in is all that matters. Now after those two, it is the current league champions of the other 5, the other 6 top domestic leagues. And actually just forgot to put this on a second. So it's the other top 6 domestic leagues, and that traditionally is the usual top 5 that you know of. The English League, the German League, the French League, the Spanish League and the Italian League. And of course the winners there at the moment are Barcelona, Man City, Juventus, Bayern and PSG. So they make up pot 1. And the final team, the 6th league always changes around, but this year it is the Russian League. It's based on the coefficient standing, so how well teams from each country do throughout the previous years in the European competitions. They go into that, and at the moment those holders are Zenit. So you'd imagine from Tottenham fans looking at this from pot 1, you would want Zenit. I see Darren, Alan, Reese and Delboy all joining the stream here. Welcome along. Now in pot 2 obviously is where Tottenham is, so we can't be drawn against any of the other teams in pot 2. Now I'm not particularly sure how the ranking works in the remainder of the pots, but you can kind of see that, you know, it's the bigger teams in the higher pots basically, and it works its way down. So in pot 2, which are the teams that Tottenham can't draw in this season's Champions League, are Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Napoli, Shakhtar Donetsk, Benfica and Ajax. So there are a few domestic champions in there, a few runners-up as well, and some big teams that we'll be very happy to avoid, particularly Real Madrid. Borussia Dortmund we didn't have too many problems with in the last few years, but again, they're a big team that we're happy to avoid. And Kieran Trippier playing with Atletico, we won't get him. I see Jay Spurs saying we all know we're getting a hard group, which we have been getting in the past, but this, now that we're in pot 2 instead of pot 3, see Reece saying your mic sounds like it's been hit over and over again. I'm not sure what's wrong with that. Anyway, then moving on to pot 3 is the next strongest teams, I suppose. There's Lyon, Bayer Leverkusen, RB Salzburg, Olympiacos, Club Brugge, Valencia, Inter Milan and Dinamo Zagreb. So we will be drawn against one of those teams today. And then in pot 4, the weakest is Lokomotiv Moscow, Genk, Galatasaray, RB Leipzig, Slavia Prague, Crvena Zvezda, Atlanta and Lille. Now Crvena, I can't even say the name to be honest, they're also known as Red Star Belgrade. They actually beat Liverpool in the Champions League last year. Mic is a bit crackly. I'm not too sure what it is. I think it is just the software I'm using because it was happening before I had this mic anyway. But yeah, those are the pots. So put into the chat now what teams you want to be drawn against in the Champions League today. To be honest, I don't really have too many hopes for it. All I want is Zenit St. Petersburg from pot 1. And I think with that, we would be more than likely through to the knockout stages because they are obviously the strongest teams in there. Darren saying, I want all the best teams. We are Spurs from the lane. A few people saying the mic is fine. Thanks for that. So yeah, it is it's always worrying when we get this draw, because we know as Tottenham fans, we tend to get the more difficult draw. And if you did miss it, actually, the Carabao Cup draw was last night. We were drawn against Colchester, so we're playing them away from home in the third round of the Carabao Cup. But this is the draw that we have been waiting for. It's going to be exciting, and it's going to be getting started any minute now. If you are enjoying this, and if you do want to follow the live stream, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps me out. And Tottenham Reese saying, I want Leon so Ndombele can score a hat-trick against his former club. Alan Harry saying, I don't care, we got through to the final, we can do it again. And that, I think, is something that we do have to maybe even try and live up to this season, because we were in the final last year. I think we're a team that people could be trying to avoid. They probably won't be as aware of our poor domestic form at the moment. Delboy saying, I think we're going to get Barca, Inter and Leipzig, which will be very hard. And to be honest, looking at the pots, that will probably be the most difficult draw that we could get at the moment. You'd imagine that a team who did reach the final last year would be able to get through any group, but there are definitely some groups of death there. Owen Devon saying we'll get Juve and Inter, which, look, we probably will. But looking at this, there are some groups you can look at them and you can really say we'd walk the group. And you imagine Zenit St. Petersburg from pot 1 would be absolutely ideal. From pot 2, teams like Olympiacos, Club Brugge, Dinamo Zagreb, they're much weaker than Lyon, Leverkusen and Inter Milan and even Valencia. And then in pot 4, to be honest, the only team I'd like to avoid from there is RB Leipzig. So Darren Walsey saying, I Real Madrid, Bayern Munich and Juventus, well, they're all in pot 1, or 2 of them are in pot 1 and the others in our pot, so we can only get one of them. Ron Swanson saying, Matt, did last year's Champions League hide how bad the domestic season was? I do think so, towards the end of last year, and I said it in my video on Monday after that Newcastle game. I think the form that we showed towards the end of last season, in the Premier League and even in the Cups, which we were of course knocked out of, I do think it was overshadowed by the Champions League defeat. And now that we don't have a Champions League run and we've started this season in a similar vein of form, I think it is the cracks are starting to show now. I see Paranormal Frank saying we will do well in the Champions League. European teams play more open and we flourish when given space, which is a great point. It is, as you say, people that park the bus in the Premier League where we do really struggle. Joe Monaghan saying if we get a big team we won't play them in the knockouts. It is possible to get them once we get to the semi-final, but I think, look, no matter what the draw is, we're going to get bigger teams when you get into the knockout stage, so we might as well keep it as easy as possible while we are here in the group stage. And again, ideally Zenit from pot 1 is that all I'd be asking for. So please don't forget, put in, I see 93 if you join, and welcome along everyone. Put in the chat if you're not a Spurs fan, what team you support, but also what teams you'd like to get in this group stage of the Champions League. DJ Samuel saying, I want Juventus because I like it when crybaby Ronaldo cries because he loses. That'll be probably a very typical thing to happen for us, because with everything that's happened with Paulo Dybala. Now, of course, we don't know if he is going to be in their Champions League squad, but either way, it wouldn't be great to get Juventus because of what happened over the summer. And I see CJ Lewin saying Chelsea fan, Sam Brady's a Liverpool fan. Nevin saying, hi from a Dinamo Zagreb fan. If we get you guys and you make it to Zagreb, I'll buy you a pint. All the best. Cheers for that. Someone here saying, I don't support Spurs due to the fact that my uncle was a Spurs fan and he touched me. Okay, we'll ignore that one. So a few Tottenham fans, a lot of different fans coming in here as well. Vinayak saying, what do you feel about the North London derby? It's a bit worrying going into this one, to be honest, because again, with the form that we've shown so far in the season, it could be a very difficult game, and when we do play Arsenal, they do tend to show up and give us a really tough game. So it's not one that I'm particularly looking forward to, but I do think that if we show up, we can certainly beat them, because we are a side who on our day we can beat the majority of teams, and we've shown that in the Champions League in the past when we've beaten Man City last year. We kind of walked that tie against Borussia Dortmund. Even in the group stage when we got the win against Inter and we drew away at the Nou Camp, we certainly can beat the big teams when we do get drawn against them. But look, ideally you'd want to avoid those teams. And I see Tarek saying looks like Ndombele will miss the Arsenal game, which is probably true. Mohammed saying you're talking too much, but I don't know what else I'm supposed to do here. Vinayak saying I believe Tottenham can defeat Arsenal in the derby, and as I said, it is possible. Can we just get one of the mods to get rid of Mohammed S there, please? It's going to be a tough game. But look, I think the draw is just getting ready to start here now. I'm just going through the pots at the moment. Just 1 sec if I can get my volume up. Delboy saying I want to get to the game, so no red star, please. Kadish saying, what do you think about Neymar returning to Barca? And to be honest, that it could be a bit of a blow to Tottenham, because we know PSG have identified Paulo Dybala as a replacement for Neymar if he does go. So for us looking to sign Dybala in January, it could possibly be a really damaging thing for us that Neymar does look to be joining Barcelona, rejoining them this summer. Now I hope that there are some players going the other way in that deal, because it would make it less likely for, or less kind of necessary for PSG to replace him with Dybala. But it's certainly not a good thing for Tottenham, I suppose. Garrett saying, what's the best possible Champions League matchup in group stages? So as I've said, I think from pot one, it's the strongest teams in there. It's Liverpool, Chelsea, Barcelona, Man City, Juventus, Bayern, PSG and Zenit St. Petersburg. So ideally for us, obviously it will be Zenit St. Petersburg from that draw. We see Nevin saying Zvezda is the best pick for any team. They're garbage. They're of course in pot four. Now I don't think we can underestimate any team in this at the moment, because last season Zvezda actually beat Liverpool 2-0 in the group stage in their home game. So of course Liverpool went on to lift the trophy. So all these teams they've grinded away for a season to get into this. So I don't think we can underestimate any team there. But they would probably be one of the weaker teams in the competition. So Zenit from pot one. From pot three, it's Lyon, Bayer Leverkusen, RB Salzburg, Olympiacos, Club Brugge, Valencia, Inter Milan and Dinamo Zagreb. From that, let's avoid Inter, let's avoid Valencia, and I don't think there'll be too much hassle for us from there. But there are certainly some difficult teams, like as we were saying a while ago, Joyce saying, when does the draw start? It's happening, it's starting very, very soon. They're just talking about it now. I'm watching the Sky Sports live stream. They're starting that very, very soon. But there is a group of death there if you get... Of course, we can't draw any other English teams. So at the moment, from pot one, we can get Barcelona, Juventus, Bayern, PSG and Zenit. So there's a 20% chance there of us getting Zenit St. Petersburg, of course, depending on how the draws before us go. But you'd imagine someone like Barcelona, Juventus, PSG, Bayern, to be honest, the four that we can get, aside from Zenit, would be really, really worrying for us. From pot three, Inter Milan would be my biggest fear, and then RB Leipzig from pot four. Let's go into some of the possible groups here. And Liverpool, their potential group of death would be with Real Madrid, Inter Milan and RB Leipzig, which of course we can't draw Real Madrid. We're in the same group as them. But as always, there is going to be at least one group of death, and in the last 2 years it has been Tottenham in there. And Darren saying we have been in there before. Last season we had Barcelona, Inter Milan and PSV, who really is it's really a really tough group. And the year before that we had Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund and look, we had a poor Cypriot team, I think it was Apoel Nicosia. But with those two big teams there, it was really difficult. And to be honest, Tottenham have showed they can do whatever it takes, because when we did have that group at Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund, we ended with a record points total for Tottenham for an English team in 16 points. We only dropped 2 points, and that was away at the Bernabeu. We beat Dortmund home and away, we beat Nicosia home and away, and of course we got the win against Real Madrid at Wembley. So no matter what the draw is, we can safely say Tottenham can do it. But again, ideally, let's get an easier draw and hope for the best there. Jay Spurs saying, why can't we have Leicester scouts? They find good players for cheap, like James Maddison, who could have replaced Eriksen easily. Yeah, to be honest, there are some teams in the Premier League who do have really good scouts, and Leicester can certainly be identified as one of them. I mean, you only have to look at the likes of Riyad Mahrez and N'Golo Kante, Jamie Vardy. They're really good at finding these young, cheap players who they can develop into much better players. But I think Tottenham do have similar scouts as well. It's just the problem with us seems to be getting the deals over the line. Like look at that, the astute signing of Dele Alli for only £5 million. And of course we have some great players coming through our academy like Harry Kane, Harry Winks. We're certainly in a great position for that as well. I'm just talking about Tottenham at the moment, so I'll take a listen here. Go back over the Newcastle game at the weekend. Yeah, let's talk about the unsettled squad here for Tottenham, which of course could become a problem for us in the Champions League, because if we do lose the likes of Christian Eriksen, Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld, of course they're players who were a key part of our run to the final last year, and losing players like that could be a big blow for us, especially now because at this stage we can't replace them. But we have to realise that we got to the final last year with a team who we hadn't made any new signings, we suffered a lot of injuries, so you can't say that even if our squad is weakened, we are capable of having a good run in the Champions League. Now we see Guno saying Spurs should have won the Champions League. Of course we came so close, and it's not something any of us were expecting at the end of the season. And we see Paranormal Frank saying, I think runners up in the Champions League should get automatic qualification for the CL the following season. And that has been a massive debate of late, because Tottenham, we were lucky that we did finish fourth in the Premier League, which at the moment is automatic qualification. Previously we would have had to have played a playoff, but we were immediately put into it. But I do think, as Frank does, there should be. It shouldn't just be the winners of the Champions League and Europa League who get put straight into it. Because if you look at Ajax, Ajax they really grabbed the hearts of fans all around the world when they made that run, and were so unlucky not to get to the final. They also went out and they won the Eredivisie, the domestic league in Holland, and they had to go through 3 rounds of playoffs to actually get into this season's Champions League. And thankfully for them, they have managed to do that. They are in the Champions League. They're in our pot, but there should be something there that allows teams, depending on how well they do in the Champions League, to get through. And I think in the way that with the FA Cup, if the winner isn't in Europe, they get European qualification, and if the winner already has it, it's the runner-up who gets it. I think there should be something similar in the Champions League, that the runners-up get automatic qualification, and if it's not the runners-up, it's the team who they beat in the semi-final. There are certainly better ways that this could be run, but look, this is the way it is at the moment. We have to just deal with it, I suppose. And I see everyone saying, how long is Ndombele out for? And this is something that's pretty worrying at the moment. I'm not entirely sure how long he's going to be out for, because sorry saying it, how long is the draw? It's very, very soon. We're getting started any minute now. And I actually forget what I was talking. Oh, and Ndombele, he has been left out of the French national team for the game very soon, for the international break. And I don't know if it's been officially confirmed that he's going to miss the North London derby at the weekend, but it's not going to be a lengthy injury. They said it is a minor injury that he picked up in training, so I imagine he will be back quite soon, probably after the international break. But he's going to be a massive miss for us in the North London derby, because we showed how much we missed him against Newcastle. People involved in Tottenham's squad training are poor. Way too many injuries, which is true. We had something like 77 injuries last season, which was the most of any team in England, maybe even in Europe. It was an insane amount of injuries, which you'd never expect to see from a Premier League club. Will L saying, isn't Ndombele being injured in training an indictment on Poch's training methods? We seem to have too many injuries. Well, I think we can say last season it would be more accurate to say that the injuries we had in the squad was because of the lack of squad depth. There is certainly an element of it that is Pochettino's his training methods and stuff like that, because we know that he does like double training sessions. He really, really pushes the players. But the thing is, he almost needs to do that for the way that he plays football. With the way we do that high press and a really intense play, they need to be very, very fit. Jace was saying, what's the point in intense training sessions to lose to Newcastle? Well, it's not for those games that we really do that. It's for the bigger games, and we need to be ready for those games. We should be beating Newcastle regardless of how we train. If we're doing intense training sessions, if we're doing mainly tactical, whatever it is, we should be beating teams like Newcastle. Messiah Debate saying, who's your number one transfer target that we should be definitely picking up in January? Maybe not Dybala. Well, I suppose the number one would be Dybala, but I think we do need a right back at the moment, because of course we're missing Juan Foyth, Kyle Walker-Peters at the moment, Serge Aurier. I'm not sure where he is at the moment. He could still be leaving the club, but I think it's very important that we do pick up a right back, because it's the weakest part of our team at the moment. If we're going to get, we're linked with El Cid Husay, Atal, and a few others. Max Aarons from Norwich as well was mentioned, and Anthony Lynch saying we need a world-class right back. We absolutely do. The draw has not started yet. It'll be done very, very soon. The Board Gamer saying, how would Dybala do at Spurs, do you think? I think he'd be perfect for us. I think he'd be a really, really good fit, because he's an attacking player, plays behind the striker, which is a very important part of our the way we play and stuff like that. He's Argentinian, will fit in really well with Lamela, Gazzaniga, Foyth, Lo Celso, and he can also play as a striker. He's not just an attacking midfielder. He can play out in the wing, he can play centrally, he can play up front. He's someone who his versatility would offer us a lot. And when we are missing Harry Kane, it seems to be just Heung-min Son, and at times we can put Lucas Moura up there. But Dybala offers us a completely different thing, and he's just a world-class player. He would be an amazing signing no matter what. Austin Long saying, would you replace Winks? I wouldn't replace Winks. I absolutely love Winks. He's last season was one of our best midfielders, and he is someone who is suffering from this poor form at the moment. The majority of the team is, but I think with the way he plays and the way he kind of depends on the players around him and stuff, I think his poor form is highlighted a bit more. But he's certainly one of my favourite players of the club, and I would not replace him at all. Anthony Lynch saying, is there question marks over Pochettino's future? At the moment, there does seem to be. It's a bit worrying, to be honest, because he's just not looking as, I suppose, as happy or as comfortable or as content as he has been at Tottenham in the past. He's making statements in press conferences. He's kind of lashing out at journalists, at reporters, and he's just saying things that, to be honest, make it sound like he's not happy. The way he's saying, he has no input in the transfers and stuff like that. It's just a bit worrying, to be honest, because obviously we don't want him to leave. He's a manager who has brought us from a Champions League or a Europa League team who were happy to get out of the group stage and stuff like that. Now to a team who we just played in a Champions League final, and to be honest, sorry, just 1 second. I'm trying to. Pochettino leaving would be probably the worst thing that could happen to us at the moment, and I know he's said that while he is happy at the club for now, he's always said, and he's always left that door open, that he could leave tomorrow, he could leave next week. It's worrying, and this is the first time, to be honest, that personally I haven't thought he's 100% happy and he will 100% be there at the end of the season. And there have been reports that this is his last season at Tottenham and he won't make it to May. And if he doesn't, who will come in? And at the moment, the name being thrown around the most is Jose Mourinho, but there are also managers like Massimiliano Allegri, who doesn't have a job at the moment. Thomas Gibbons saying, what are your thoughts on Joe Linton, Almiron and St. Maximan and the whole Newcastle team? Well, Newcastle, to be honest, are quite poor, and their front three didn't do much against us on Sunday. It's just a fact. They didn't give us an exceptional amount of problems. It was the one chance that they had, they did take. But defensively, I thought they were really disciplined. They stuck to their game plan absolutely perfectly on Sunday, and that's why they did beat us, unfortunately. But Newcastle, I would struggle to see them staying up. Not Google's YT saying, what time will the draw start exactly? I don't think they've given an exact time. There's a big kind of event that goes on before it. But they're just saying here, Champions League draw coming up. It is going to start in the next 10 or 15 minutes, I would imagine. Anthony Lynch saying Eddie Howe if it comes to it, which wouldn't be a bad signing as well. And while we are looking mainly at those big names in football, the Massimiliano Allegri's, Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti is even one who's been named. You have to look at those managers in the Premier League that are kind of working a similar way to Mauricio Pochettino. Eddie Howe and Nuno Espirito Santo at Wolves would be another one. So we don't have to just look at those big names. There are other managers out there who would suit us. And I see J Spurs saying Norwich manager is Daniel Farke. I'm not sure he would be the best fit for us. But like when we did bring in Pochettino, he wasn't a big name manager. He wasn't a massive one that we brought in. The other names there were Frank de Boer and Louis van Gaal, who at the time we would have preferred, and 100% absolutely delighted that didn't happen. So you see what Van Gaal did to United and what Frank de Boer did at Crystal Palace, and then what Pochettino was done with us, Delboy saying Eddie Howe can't set up a defence. Austin Long saying the Ajax manager, which is another one, Erik ten Hag, miracle worker with what he did at Ajax last year, and it's unfortunate that he has now lost his big name players, Frankie de Jong, Matthias de Ligt, and more than likely Danny van de Beek as well. There are some other names out there, and I see Tottenham Reece saying the Leipzig manager, and I'm not quite sure who that is at the moment. I know one of their previous managers, is it Ralph Hasenhüttl at Southampton now? But Leipzig, they've done really well, a couple of back-to-back promotions, and they are now, of course, a Champions League team. Let's double check who their manager here is. Julian Nagelsmann. He is one who was touted for the Chelsea job, I think, after Maurizio Sarri left. Delboy saying he's actually just joined, so maybe that was why he didn't end up at Chelsea. Aside debate saying, what would be your dream draw for us? I'd say it's likely that we get either Zenit or Barca from pot 1, and I know who we'd all prefer. Dream draw, Zenit, Dinamo Zagreb and Red Star Belgrade. That is a draw that we can, kind of play the Champions League as we do domestic cups. We can kind of rotate a bit, and we can comfortably say we will get through that draw. And I think it might be starting here. No, it's not. It's just an ad. Look, as I said, if we do get one of those big teams from pot 1, we are capable of beating them. We absolutely are. But we prefer Zenit. It's just simple as that. Tottenham Reece saying Dinamo Zagreb of Dani Olmo, which is very true. I forgot about that. If you're not sure, Dani Olmo is a player who we were linked with for a bit over the transfer window. A young Dinamo Zagreb Spanish midfielder who played in the Under-21 European Championships with Spain, is a really, really good player. Tom here is saying Martial is better than Kane. I mean, he's just not. There's no debate there. Martial has scored 50 goals in his time at Manchester United. Harry Kane gets more than that in 2 seasons. To be fair, they are very different players as well, but I wouldn't for a second even consider the thought that Harry Kane isn't as good a player as Anthony Martial. Phantom saying, if we get Mourinho, I will cry of sadness. And I would I'd be right there beside you, because look, if we get Mourinho, we're going to win a trophy. It's almost guaranteed that we're going to win an FA Cup or we're going to win a Carabao Cup. But what happens is, and it's happened with every single team Mourinho has managed, he goes to the club, wins a few trophies, has a good season, has a poor second season, loses the dressing room, and all of a sudden he leaves this chaotic mess behind that takes quite a while to fix. And that's not what we want at Tottenham. If we are going to lose, and Jasper says Mourinho is a short-term manager, if we are going to lose Pochettino, we need to bring someone in who can carry on his project, and who is another 5, 6, 7 year manager, which again comes back to Eric Ten Hag, Nuno Espirito Santo, Eddie Howe, and if Nagelsmann is available, I'm sure he would be a great fit as well. The Board Gamer saying, we need to learn how to finish, our chances then will be so much better. And that has been a problem for us, I suppose, recently. Look, against Newcastle, it was the fact that we couldn't create the chances, but there are a few things that we need to improve with the team at the moment. Not Google's YT saying, what is your favourite player? That's a really tough question, to be honest, because there are a lot of players at the club that I like for very different reasons. Like Harry Kane, for the obvious, Heung-min Son, because of course he is a quality player, but he also, he kind of embodies what Tottenham is about, I suppose, in the way that he plays, in his mood and his approach to everything. Then you look at Lloris, our captain, Winks, a young player coming through. There's so many different people that I could say, but to be honest, I'd have to just say Harry Kane because of what he's done for us, I suppose, in the time that he's been in that first team. Alexander Hilton saying Marco Silva could be a good option for manager. But look, I mean, we're talking about this, but we have to remember Pochettino is still at the club. He's not gone yet, and it could be this season that he goes. It could be next, the year after. It could be any time at all. Cameron Williams saying, would you take Allegri? I would take Allegri. He did pretty well at Juventus, and I know it's a very different situation because he's gone in there to a team who just at the moment are the best team in Italy. AC Milan, Inter Milan, they're not the teams they once were, and you don't get as much competition from the likes of Roma, Lazio, Udinese anymore. So I would definitely take Allegri, but the thing is, you have to remember that these managers, these big name managers, Allegri, Mourinho, they're managers who are used to spending money, and that's just not how it's done at Tottenham, which I think is what sets Mauricio Pochettino apart from these top managers. Also looking at Klopp and Pep Guardiola, Pochettino doesn't have that money to spend, and he's certainly he's in a different league to them, not in that he's better, but he's just a very, very different manager. And I think that has to be recognised when we're talking about who the best manager is. That's one sec, the draw seems to be starting here. Yeah, the draw's just about to get underway here. And they're actually doing some of the awards for the Champions League before this draw starts. And the goalkeeper of the year for last year has just been announced as Alisson Becker for Liverpool. Of course, Champions League winning goalkeeper. He's been named the Champions League goalkeeper of the season. Now, just before this draw gets started, we'll go back through the pots and which teams Tottenham could potentially draw. In pot 1, we can get one of these teams. Of course, there's 3 English teams in there: Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City. We can't draw any of them, but we will end up playing one of Barcelona, Juventus, Bayern Munich, PSG and Zenit St. Petersburg. Now, I don't know if it's any secret what team we prefer to get from that group, but as I've been saying, a big team, it wouldn't be the last thing in the world for us. Now in pot 2, which is the group that we are in, we cannot draw any of Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Napoli, Shakhtar Donetsk, Benfica or Ajax. So we're in the same pot as them, we cannot draw them. Of course, some teams there that we have played in the last couple of years, Madrid, Dortmund and Ajax, we won't be playing any of them in the group stage this year. Now pot 3, there's a bit of a mix in there in terms of teams we'd like to avoid and teams we'd like to get. There's Lyon, Bayer Leverkusen, RB Salzburg, Olympiacos, Club Brugge, Valencia, Inter Milan and Dinamo Zagreb. So we will be playing one of them. Ideally, Zagreb, Club Brugge. We'd want to avoid Inter Milan and Valencia. Then in pot 4, there's only one team in here that I'd identify as a team we'd like to miss. There's Lokomotiv Moscow, Genk, Galatasaray, RB Leipzig, Slavia Prague, Red Star Belgrade, Atlanta and Lille. Now the one team there I'd like to miss is RB Leipzig. There's another few teams there that we have played in recent years. We played Genk in the Europa League when we were knocked out that year. Our first year at Wembley, we played CSK in Moscow, Bayer Leverkusen and another team in the group stage. Could have been PSV, I'm not too sure. But Genk knocked us out in the Europa League when we got reduced to that after finishing third. But of course, Leipzig is the team there that we'd like to avoid. Will L saying, we all think Poch leaving will be the end all. I disagree. We have the facilities, finances and squad. Rodgers took Liverpool as far as he could. Klopp came in and pushed them forward. Which I suppose is true, but it certainly wouldn't be a good thing if he did leave. I see an Aston Villa fan saying, Matt, as a Villa fan, John McGinn is better than Tanguy Ndombele. John McGinn, better than Tanguy Ndombele. I saw a post from some Aston Villa fan on it was on Twitter or something. He was trying to value some of the Aston Villa players, and he said Jack Grealish, John McGinn and Tyrone Mings were worth something like 350 million combined, which is an average of about 115 million each. I've never really seen the Aston Villa fan as a deluded fan base before, but that's certainly starting to change. J Spurs saying Dele Alli is not in the England squad. He got booted out. It's just because he's injured. He hasn't played first team football since the Champions League final last year. He's injured, so that is why he has been left out of that. There were certainly some interesting decisions in that England squad today. Kyle Walker has been left out of it. There are 3 right backs in there. They're Kieran Trippier, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and the other one's gone. I think it's another debutant coming in at right back. But there are only 3 Tottenham players in the squad: Danny Rose, Harry Kane, and Harry Winks in that. Of course, recently we've usually had 5, but now Kieran Trippier gone to Atletico Madrid and Dele Alli injured. Alexander Hilton saying, someone said Jack Grealish is the best English player of all time. Yeah, there are certainly some Aston Villa fans who aren't quite sure what they're talking about. Barry G saying, how was Chelsea in pot 1, Tottenham runners up in 2? It's the winners of the Champions League and the Europa League who go straight into pot 1. So Chelsea, having beaten Arsenal in the final last year, have gone straight into pot 1. And of course, Arsenal have gone straight into the Europa League. They won't be watching tonight. Not Google saying, if Harry Kane would go to Bayern, would you become a Bayern fan? Absolutely not. You don't support the players, you support the team. And if the entire Tottenham team left and Mauricio Pochettino left, I would still be a Tottenham fan because I'm supporting the club. I'm not supporting any of the people there. J Spurs saying, is Mason Mount as good as everyone is saying? He's a good player. I mean, he's a young English player. They tend to get overhyped, especially when we're watching the majority of the coverage on English TV. He's a good player. I mean, he's done well for Chelsea this season. He was pretty good. I was watching him last season for Derby in the Championship, but I think Gareth Southgate has just given these players, he's picked players to give them an opportunity to prove that they're good enough for the international setup, rather than picking players that he knows are. So the majority of the players, well, a lot of the players who have been picked for this team, it's their chance to prove that they're good enough, rather than him picking players who he thinks are good. Now the draw is underway, as I said, at the moment. Raw Dog saying, what did I miss? We haven't missed anything yet. The draw, no team has been drawn out yet. So just they're following it here on Sky Sports News. They're not streaming it live. I think it's BT Sport who do have that. But so the draw getting underway now at the moment. I'm sure the pots will start coming through to us very, very soon. They do drag this out. They drag it out a lot. They do it every single year. They kind of do a whole thing, 5-6 minute video explaining how the draw works. They do a kind of summary of last season's Champions League, and they make it a real event rather than just 20 minutes in, out, this is who you're playing. Messiah Debate saying, what would be a disappointing result in the Premier this season? Anything but top 4 would be a disappointment for us, because in the last 4 years it's only been us and Manchester City who have been in the top 4 every season. So anything outside of the top 4 would be really, really disappointing. And as a team, of course, who just made it into the Champions League final, if we're not in it next year, that would be a massive setback. And Delboy saying PSG have been drawn out first. I'll see if I can get a better stream for this, because I thought Sky Sports were going to be streaming it live. But, they see a... Sorry, 1 sec now. And a super chat coming from Spartan7 saying, keep up the good work, loving your content, £20. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Spartan. I really do. Jelmer saying, Arsenal Spurs full-time score. A draw would probably be our best option at the moment. I'm not particularly confident about going there and winning them, but beating them. But look, as I said, when we turn up, we can beat absolutely anyone. No problem, Reese. Mark saying, BT Sports are doing a stream. I'll see if I can get on that now. How much pressure does Spurs this UCL... Sorry, no, that's after jumping out. How much pressure does Spurs this UCL have because of the final finish last year? I think that puts a lot on us. It really, really does, because we've been in the final last year. Not only is there the internal pressure. Go back, Dean saying Matt McGinn better than Dembele. Agree or disagree? 100% disagree. But as for that draw, it does put a lot of pressure on us that we were in the final last year, and there is that internal pressure that we're kind of looking at it and thinking we have to, for ourselves, we have to go and at least better what we did last year. But also, we have to. There's going to be other teams watching us thinking, oh, these are a great team. They just made the final last year. We're going to be feared in the Champions League first and foremost because we were in the final last year and because of some of the results that we got. I say I actually can't get the BT Sports stream here in Ireland, but there are going to be teams fearing us, and that will work in our favour but also against us, because there's going to be teams coming out and trying to make a point saying, oh, we can beat this team, but there's also obviously going to be teams who are going to fear us and stuff like that. But look, with the way Tottenham go, it's not going to be it's not going to get us too much, I suppose. Now, so the draw has started. There's been a few teams picked out already, and they seem to be a bit delayed. So here we have in Group A, Paris Saint-Germain, Group B, Bayern Munich, Group C, Manchester City, and Group D, Juventus. So that's 4 teams who've already been pulled out. Of course, they're going to go through Pot 1, which is 8 teams in there, and then after that they go with Tottenham. And so Zenit have been called into Group G, which I think is the one that we need to go for instead. But I can't get the BT Sports stream in Ireland. I think it must only be available in England. So Group G right now it's where we want to be. See if I can get it here. 1 second now. I'm trying to find another. So Barcelona have been put into Group F. So they're working their way through Pot 1 pretty quickly. Alan Harris saying Chelsea in Group H. Mark saying BT YouTube must be worldwide. There's, for some copyright reasons, there are certain countries they can't allow it. It's not global, unfortunately. But look, they're the majority of the way through Pot 1 now. We'll find out who Tottenham have very soon. And as we said, we'd love it for it to be Group G. So they have all of Pot 1 completed now. Just to run back over it, if this loads. Sorry, that's 1 second. I'm having a problem with my laptop here. Group A, Paris Saint-Germain. Group B, Bayern Munich. Group C, Manchester City. Group D, Juventus. Group E, Liverpool. Group F, Barcelona. Group G, Zenit. And Group H is Chelsea. So they'll be getting through to Pot 2 very, very soon. And I think I've gotten a stream here. Just 1 second now. We'd absolutely love if we can end up in Group H, get Zenit St. Petersburg. Of course, we cannot come up against Liverpool, Chelsea, or Manchester City. So there's only 5 groups that we can actually end up in. Oh, come on, please work. Delboy saying, OMG, they're dragging it out even more. Gotta watch Van Dijk getting an award. I think they should do these separately, the award ceremonies and the draw, because, as you say, they just drag it out so much. The Board Gamer saying, how do you feel about Unai Emery and Erase all transformation? I'm not sure what you mean with the second part of that, but Unai Emery, look, he's a manager who's won European trophies, he's won domestic trophies. Obviously had his best spell at Sevilla when he won 3 Europa Leagues in a row, but at the moment he doesn't seem to be able to transfer that form to Arsenal. So I'm not too worried about them at the moment. Aside from Sunday, I mean, in the long term, I suppose, for the season ahead, I wouldn't be particularly worried about Arsenal. But look, I've regretted some things I've said about Arsenal and Tottenham in the past, but hopefully this won't be one of them. Not Google saying, can you show the draw for us, please? I can't. It's copyright protected and all that stuff. I can't. Tottenham saying, yeah, Van Dijk got Defender of the Year. Messiah Debate saying, if Van Dijk wins the Defender of the Year, can he also win the Player of the Year? He can. That's usually how it happens. It's usually one of the players who wins one of those 4 awards will get the Player of the Year award. There has been a few strange ones in the past where, there's been a player who hasn't won the award for their position but has won the overall award, which is really strange. Steen saying, Matt, you're a goat. Alexander Hintel, can you be manager of Spurs? I appreciate that, lads. Mark saying, UEFA do this like a show, just do the damn draw. And it does get so annoying when we're watching all these. Like, fair enough, there's going to be people getting awards, but even if they did the awards first and then the draw afterwards, we can just focus on that. Messiah's Debate saying the UEFA stream is a few minutes behind. It is quite difficult to get any proper streams for this. Actually a live blog of it here, I think. There's doing a few stats here about the teams in the draw. Go back and see this one on Zenit St. Petersburg. Yeah, just saying, Barcelona have finished as group winners on 20 occasions, 4 more than Real Madrid and 5 more than Bayern Munich and Manchester United. Barcelona have won their group for the last 12 seasons, which is a UCL record, which is absolutely insane. Chelsea have gotten out of their UCL group on 14 of their previous 15 participations. The sole occasion they didn't, in 2013, they became the first and so far only holders to fail to reach the knockout rounds. So of course Liverpool, the team you'd imagine wouldn't encounter a problem like that at the moment. I'm trying to get another stream here. The one on the Uefa website is actually down at the moment. It's very hard to follow. So some of the they are starting to draw Group 2. Tarek saying Bayern and Tottenham. Has that been drawn? We're out first. We've drawn Bayern. Look, not ideal. Not ideal at all. But as I said, we're a team. When we do come up against those teams, we can beat them. We've shown that in the past. But look, the team we have from pot 1 is Bayern Munich. But it's certainly much better for us now that we are in pot 2, and we're not gonna have these big three. So that we're in Group B there. Not Google saying we're in Group A. We're in Group B with Bayern Munich. But yeah, look, we can beat those teams. Beside debate saying I was hoping for G, but B is okay. Alexander Hinton saying we can beat Bayern, we can be beaten Dortmund, which is very, very true. We can play with them. Second team out here are Ajax. Ajax are a team that I'd like to watch go along in the Champions League this season. I'd love if they can do well, because it was hard for us to kind of feel sorry for them last year when they were knocked out. But look, they're a team who did really, really well. As I was saying here, it appears to be Claudio Ranieri's brother saying we really have to praise them for what they did last season. Now Jay Spurs saying I'm still upset about the loss on Sunday, and we all are. I'll go back to that. Andrew Marriott saying YouTube is showing the draw. I actually can't get it in Ireland, whatever copyright rulings are on it. But yeah, that defeat on Sunday, Jay Spurs, was really tough to take, and it was more the performance and the fact that we did lose the game. Now we see Ajax put into Group H here. Edwin van der Sar nodding along to that. So Chelsea have gotten Ajax now at the moment. I was going to try and follow along with this here. So that'll be a very good game, I think, Chelsea against Ajax. Obviously, teams from pot 1 and pot 2 is going to be the best encounters that you would pick out of that. But yeah, certainly going to be a very good game, Chelsea against Ajax. And now the next team out is Borussia Dortmund. They can get into 3 groups, E, F and G. So Borussia Dortmund could potentially end up against Zenit St. Petersburg. And just Petr Cech doing the draw here. And Borussia Dortmund team who we've done pretty well against in Champions League in the past. We were beaten by them a few times in the Europa League, but once we got them in the Champions League, we had that year when we played Real Madrid in the group stage. They were there as well. We beat them home and away. And in the last 16 last season, we beat them home and away again. And now, so Group F is now Barcelona and Borussia Dortmund. So that is a very, very difficult group, one that I'm glad we won't be able to end up in. Jay Spurs talking about Troy Parrott here. He's a really good, exciting prospect for the future, and he's one that I can't wait to see get into the Tottenham team. It's going to be really exciting when he does make that break in, and I don't know if it's going to be this season. We might see him in the domestic cups a bit. Now we see Masai debate saying, would you rather the draw be computer generated at the risk of corruption, or watch a drawn out 1 hour show? Well, look, to be honest, it can be corrupted either way. This way they're doing it, people drawing it out of a bowl, there's so many ways that they can fix that. You would hope that it's not fixed. I know there's been a lot of conspiracy theories over the last couple of years where people have pulled out the balls and put them under the table and stuff like that, but the way it's going here, from what you can see, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. But of course, anything can happen. But I think there's a much bigger risk when it is computer generated. So now in the group with Zenit St. Petersburg is Benfica. So that is a weak looking group, to be honest. You'd think all the teams from pot 3 and pot 4 at the moment will be looking at that, thinking they'd love to get in there. So that's in Group G, Zenit and Benfica. At the moment, looking like the weakest group. In Group H, you've Chelsea and Ajax. Group B, you've Bayern and Tottenham. Group F, Barcelona and Dortmund. And the next team out is Real Madrid, a team that everyone will be trying to avoid. We'll see now who they get. I'll jump back into the chat here, see. Put your questions, thoughts, opinions, everything in the chat at the moment, and we'll see. I just want to again really thank Spartan for that super chat a while ago. I really do appreciate it. It's absolutely massive. And Alexander as well asking about Troy Parrott. Is he the next Harry Kane? I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't know if we can say at the moment that he's ever going to get to that level. And we see here PSG and Real Madrid in Group A. So that's now 4 really, really difficult groups shaping up there. That's going to be a really good game of football, PSG against Real Madrid. Aside about saying PSG going to battle again. And look, to be honest, they do seem to mess up when they do get onto the big stage in the Champions League. But, you know, with a team that they have losing Neymar, they could potentially be bringing in 3 or 4 really good teams. Really good players. One of them, unfortunately, could be Paulo Dybala. But, of course, we'll have to wait and see. I do feel like with PSG and Man City, with the kind of dominance they're having domestically, it is only a matter of time before they do replicate that, on the European stage. PSG would be hoping it's this season, and to be honest, it would need to be if they have a team like Real Madrid. Now we have Shakhtar Donetsk are the next out, and they are going into Group... Oh, come on, Peter. So Shakhtar Donetsk are in Group C. Let's see now who they're with. I haven't been able to follow this properly just yet. Group C, so Manchester City and Shakhtar Donetsk. Now they were in the group together last season, if I'm not mistaken. I think Shakhtar actually beat Man City in one of the ties, and Man City demolished them in the other one. That's going to be a very interesting game, but Man City do always seem to get an easy group stage draw, and then they struggle once they get to the knockout stages. And again, Shakhtar Donetsk, a good team, but one that you'd imagine Man City would have no problem against over 2 legs. Now Napoli are the next team out. And again, these teams that are being drawn from pot 2, we cannot end up playing against them because we are in the same pot. We wait until pot 3 to see who else we're going to be playing against. And for those who are just joining, so far we have been drawn in the same group as Bayern Munich. We're in Group B. Now, Atletico Madrid have been put in the group with Juventus. So I missed the Napoli one there. Group D is Juventus. Oh, and Atletico Madrid in that one. See if I can follow it here. A, B, C. So Group E is Liverpool and Napoli, which is very interesting because again, Liverpool and Napoli played together in their group last season. I think Napoli won the home leg. Callejon, I remember, scored a very late goal the day we lost to Barcelona at Wembley. And Liverpool won the return leg, and that pushed them through to the last to win the tournament. See, there's something blocking the screen here. Rory Russo saying, how do you think we can bounce back for the Northern Ireland Derby? Changes to formation, starting 11. I think there's going to be a bit more than that. I think there has to be a bit more than that, but I don't know if there will be because, you know, we don't seem to have too many options at the moment, and Pochettino seems really stubborn with these lineups he's going with. The way he's leaving Vertonghen and Eriksen out. I think we could see another slightly dodgy lineup on Sunday, but I do feel, as I said, if we do show up, we can beat them. And another award here for Frankie de Jong getting the midfielder of the tournament. Aside debate saying, I don't know why de Jong is getting the nod when Tadic and Ziyech were remarkably better. Can't believe they haven't been picked up by a major club by now. And that's true. I mean, to be honest, you can look at the whole of that Ajax team and say they were absolutely sensational last year. But Frankie de Jong, I think the fact that it was his last year at Ajax, he had that extra bit of incentive to do really well. And perhaps that move to Barcelona has kind of tilted him has kind of pushed him over the line to be the player that has won that award. And a big smile on Edwin van der Sar's face here. Talking about Ajax's really good thing last season when they did beat teams like Juventus and Real Madrid. And yeah, it was an amazing thing that Ajax achieved last season. You have to feel sorry for them. As I said, Tottenham fans will struggle to feel sorry for them, but the fact that they were so close to get to that final and they just weren't able to push that through. Jeff Mangum saying, De Jong is a beast. If you watch him play for Barca, he looks like he's been playing for 10 years already. And I think he actually played out in the wing in the first game for Barcelona, which was really strange. But he's certainly an exceptional player, and he's going to do really, really well at Bayern. Another comment there, Tadic was playing as a striker and it's a midfield award. I suppose Del Boy saying that. Tadic was in a few different positions last year. Paranormal Frank saying, if Eriksen does leave, what do you think of Kane playing the 10 spot? Son going striker, Dele to Kane's left and Moura to Kane's right. Kane did play there a few times before when Pochettino was trying to get Vincent Janssen into the team, and it is something that Kane does even when he is in striker. He does like to drop deep to get in possession. He likes to pull wide, so I don't think he'd be out of his depth playing in those deeper positions, but you know, I do think he is best up front. And another fiver there from Spartan 7 saying, no worries, you do a great job, and as for the Champions League, not fussed who we get on a day, we can beat anyone. Thank you so much, Spartan 7. I really, really do appreciate that. Yeah, I think Kane would probably be better in the striker role because he's done so well there. and he is a clinical goal scorer. Jeff Mangum saying Kane's currently our best playmaker apart from Eriksen, although Lo Celso looks sharp. And Kane, that is something that when he isn't scoring, he does have that creativity in his game. He does offer a lot more than just scoring goals. But now we see the draw starting here for the pot 3, and Inter Milan are the first team out. So ideally we don't want this to be Group B for Bayern Munich, for Inter Milan. There's only three groups that they can be drawn in. So Inter Milan, hopefully not Group B. And it's Group F. So Inter Milan are in Group F with Borussia, Dortmund and Barcelona, which is absolutely great for us, because for me, Inter Milan in the probably the best team in Pot 3, so we've avoided Inter Milan this year, which I think is great. Phantom saying, what group are we in? So far we're in Group B with Bayern Munich, and we have avoided Inter Milan, which is great. Now the next team out of Pot 3 is Bayer Leverkusen. Of course, we played Leverkusen. We're in Group B. Group A is PSG and Real Madrid. So Bayer Leverkusen, a team we played a few years ago when we were knocked out, finished third with CSK and Moscow in that group as well. I think we beat them away from home. They beat us at Wembley in that really poor first season there. Leverkusen, not the worst team in the world to get, but I think ideally we'd like to avoid them. And it seems to be 5 groups that they can end up in here, which of course makes it unlikely that we will end up with them, or 6 of them there actually. And actually, sorry, we can't get Bayer Leverkusen. We're at Bayern Munich, so we won't be getting them. They are in Group D. So Bayer Leverkusen drawn with Juventus and Atletico Madrid. I forgot they were drawn with Bayern Munich, so we can't get another German team. So it's they look to be a bit upset with that one. Juventus, Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen. A very, very worrying one for Leverkusen. That is Group D. Now the next team out is Valencia. Another team ideally we'd like to avoid, but again, it wouldn't be the worst one in the world to get. It seems to be the stronger teams in this group getting coming out first. Inter Milan, Leverkusen, now Valencia, Lyon, the other strong team in that group. So, of course, we can end up with Valencia in our group. They can't go into Group A, they can't go into Group D, and they can't go into Group F because there's already Spanish teams in there. So Valencia, they're in Group H. So they've been drawn with Chelsea and Ajax. Group H, so Chelsea, Ajax and Valencia, a really strong group shaping up there. And I suppose from these teams looking at this, they'd ideally go into Group G with Zenit St. Petersburg and Benfica. There's a few really tough groups shaping up, and that certainly is one of them. Chelsea, Ajax and Valencia. Now the next team out, Wesley Sneijder pulling them out. RB Salzburg, a team, look, we'd like to get that. Alexander Hinton saying it's rigged. Look, we get that every year. There's always going to be people thinking that. And to be honest, it could be. I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world to rig that. So RB Salzburg. It's the second time in the group stage of the Champions League. 4 groups they could end up in here. I think it would be great for us to get them, to be honest. So it's Group E. We're drawn in Group E with Liverpool and Napoli. I see Delboy saying we want Bruges, which would be great. Messiah Debate saying trying to avoid Lyon here. With the teams that are left, they're certainly the team you would want to avoid. So Group E for Salzburg. And as I said, Valencia put into Group H. So at the moment, the teams we could end up with are Lyon, Olympiacos, Club Brugge and Dinamo Zagreb. The one you'd want to avoid there is Lyon. Delboy saying I want to play Club Brugge, play against Victor Wanyama, of course, who could go there. Now the next team out is Dinamo Zagreb. So this is a team I would love to see us play against. As Reece said a while ago, they do have Dani Olmo in their ranks, but I think this would be a great team for us to come up against. Not the strongest in the world, probably not the worst in that group, but we'll see now. And Tarek saying Dinamo with City and Shakhtar. So they've been put into Group C. Messiah saying we couldn't have had Salzburg or Leverkusen. We could have had Leverkusen, Salzburg are in Austria, so we could have got them. But yeah, I forgot about Bayern. We couldn't have gotten Bayer Leverkusen. So Dinamo Zagreb in with Shakhtar Donetsk and Manchester City. Another really easy group for Man City. You'd expect them to walk that and get back into the knockout stage of the Champions League as they usually do. And my stream seems to have dropped here. Now Olympiacos in the next one. Delboy saying please don't make me go to Olympiacos. Tarek saying we have Olympiacos. So that is Group B. I'll just make sure it comes up here now. So Olympiacos, only 2 groups they can go into. Group B is one of them. It's coming out now, and there it is, Olympiacos in Group B. So I think from Pot 3, that's a very good draw for us. We could have had Lyon, could have had Valencia, could have had Inter Milan, but we've got Olympiacos. Probably not the best draw in the world for the fans going to the game, but they're not happy with that at all. But yeah, it's a good draw for us, getting Olympiacos from that pot. Again, Lyon, Valencia, Inter Milan, the teams we wanted to avoid, and we have avoided them. So yeah, not the worst in the world at all. Alexander Hintel said a while ago, can we get Dusan Tadic? The window is closed at the moment, but I don't think he'd be the best signing for us to make, to be honest, because he has, he wasn't the best when he was with Southampton in the Premier League, so it's probably wouldn't be the best signing for us to make. Delboy say he's going to go to Olympiacos. Now, Zenit, Benfica and Lyon, what a group. So Lyon have been put into Group G. And that's a quite strange one, looking at that. Zenit, Benfica and Lyon. Lyon from Pot 3 are probably the strongest team in there. So a fantastic draw for Lyon, and they obviously would have been happy to avoid us as much as we were happy to avoid them. But Lyon in Pot 3 probably weren't expecting great things, but they've gotten Zenit and Benfica. A very good draw for them. Messiah Debate saying, I think getting Bayern was pretty good because that eliminates some of the major teams from Pot 3 and 4, which is a great point. That's a great point, actually. I hadn't thought of that. It eliminated Bayer Leverkusen, and also we now cannot get RB Leipzig. Really good point there from Messiah Debates. So from Pot 4, the teams that we could potentially draw are Lokomotiv Moscow, Genk, Slavia Prague, Red Star Belgrade, Atlanta and Lille. I'm not sure, are Olympiacos and Galatasaray? No, I think one of them is Greece and one is Turkey. So I think we can still get Galatasaray, but I think the strongest team there in Pot 4, RB Leipzig, we won't be able to get them. So that's a really good result from us. I suppose getting one of those big teams, it's probably best that it was Bayern Munich, so we can miss out against Leipzig in Pot 4. So look, it's shaping up really, really well for us. We've had groups of death in the past and we've gotten through them, but now two potentially weak teams in there, one Olympiacos and then whichever one we get from Pot 4. So shaping up well so far. I think they just finished the draws there from Pot 4. Club Brugge put it into Group A. So really difficult draw there for Victor Wanyama. If he does go to Club Brugge, he'll be facing PSG and Real Madrid. That's a very, very tough one for Club Brugge. But look, I suppose they'd expect it being in Pot 3, especially when Lyon got that easy group with Zenit and Benfica. So we see it's going to be doing another award here, UCL forward of the season, Lionel Messi. Messiah Debate saying pretty easy now to get second in the group, if not first. Yeah, I mean, we have to aim for first, I suppose, especially being winners of it last year. Bayern Munich, a fantastic side, but we have to be aiming to get first in the group, otherwise there's no point in being there, I suppose. And when you do get first, it is on paper an easier draw in the round of 16 because it's, I think it's first in Pot A plays second in Group B, or first in Group A plays second in Group B, and then first in Group B plays second in Group A. So if you finish first, you get a team finish second in another group. And Mark's saying Bayern are not what they were, which I suppose is true. They have lost a number of players. James Rodriguez, his loan deal from Real Madrid expired, and he's gone back to Real Madrid. They've also lost Frank Ribery and Ian Robin. They made a few signings. Ivan Perisic coming in from Inter Milan is a good signing for them. But yeah, they're certainly not the team that they were when they won it in 2012. They're not at that level anymore, but they're still a daunting task, I suppose. And let's go back over here. The teams in Group 4, in Pot 4, Lokomotiv Moscow, Genk, Galatasaray, Slavia Prague, Red Star Belgrade, Atlanta and Lille are the teams that we can draw. Delboy saying we don't want Atlanta, good side. Alexander Hinton saying Kane versus Muller and Lewandowski. Paul Walton saying still got the Polish striker, yeah, Lewandowski, a really, really good player. He actually only signed a new contract with them today, keeping him there till 2023, I think. And we're just starting the draw here for Pot 4, and the first team out, Delboy, is Atlanta. Ideally, we don't want them to end up in Group B. I think Red Star Belgrade, Slavia Prague, Genk maybe would be our best options from here. So this is for Atlanta. Petr Cech drawing out the ball. Only 3 groups they can be in. Of course, our group is one of them. Petr Cech, open up the paper here. Atlanta have been put into Group C. So we have avoided Atlanta. They're now in with Manchester City, Shakhtar Donetsk and Dinamo Zagreb. So good for us avoiding Atlanta. I suppose the only other team there that we can look at and say we certainly don't want is probably Lille. I know they've lost probably their best player, Nicolas Pepe, to Arsenal, but still a pretty decent team, and we'd rather not come up against them. And the next team out is RB Leipzig, so this doesn't include us at all. We cannot come up against them because we've already drawn Bayern Munich. You can't have two teams from one country in the same group. So no Leipzig for us. We'll see what group they end up in. I think if this ends up in Group G, I think it's very strange you can say the strongest team came from pot 4, and it's worked in reverse order in terms of how strong those teams are. Three groups that they can end up in here. I think Group G is one of them. Yeah. So in the knockout stages, we'll get Real Madrid or PSG. I'm not sure if it is directly Group A and B, but it's whatever groups you get linked up in, it is. And here it is, RB Leipzig put into Group G. So very strange. Pot 4 probably the strongest team in that group, working its way down to Zenit in Pot 1, who've had a really, really tough draw here. Probably one of the weaker groups in the tournament this season, but for a team like Zenit, that's going to be very, very difficult for them. I'm sorry, debate saying Lyon and Leipzig about to squash Group G. J-Spurs not confident if we get PSG. Now here, Lokomotiv Moscow, they can get into A, B or D, I think he said. So we could end up with Lokomotiv Moscow here. I think this is where it starts getting really kind of intricate, that you can't get this group because there's another team that can't get other groups. It's really strange. Here we go, Lokomotiv Moscow. Delboy saying no, it's a redraw after group stage. I'm not too sure. Lokomotiv Moscow put into Group D, so they have Juventus, Atletico Madrid, and Bayer Leverkusen. So a really, really difficult draw for them. I can't imagine they'll probably be out. They won't get into the Europa League with that at all. Gavin Wizard saying shout out Social Soccer Crew. Alexander Hinton saying Prague, when Slavia Prague in they're out next. So I think we can end up with them. Tarek saying they've been put in Group F. So that is Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund and Barcelona, who are in with Slavia Prague. Their team, look, I would have liked to have gotten from this group, but look, there are some other teams in there that we'd like to get. I think the one I'm looking at mainly is Red Star Belgrade, and even if they did, even though they did beat Liverpool last year, it's an easy draw. We see Phantom saying I don't want to travel to Genk. Delboy saying I wanted to go to Prague. It's nice. And there they are in Group F with Barcelona, Dortmund and Inter Milan. Phantom saying now I have to travel to Genk or Belgrade. They could still be Galatasaray or Lille. They haven't been picked out yet, I don't think. Delboy saying I'll take Lille. Alexander Hilton saying the same. Now the next one out is Tarek saying Lille have been put in Group H. So my stream must be really far behind here. So Lille put in Group H with Valencia, Ajax and Chelsea, which is a strong group, to be fair. You'd worry for Ajax, I suppose, after that really good run last year. They're in a pretty difficult group now, and having lost players like Frenkie de Jong, Matthias de Ligt, and potentially the likes of Donny van de Beek and Hakim Ziyech, they could really struggle in that group. But they did well in their qualifiers. They had some good young players making their first appearances who did pretty well. Alexander Hilton saying Genk are out next. They've been put in Group E. So Genk in Group E with Salzburg, Napoli and Liverpool. So it was a pretty easy draw there for Liverpool, unfortunately. So left are Galatasaray and Red Star Belgrade. We'd like Red Star Belgrade from that, ideally. Phantom Dark happy to not get Genk there. Of course, knocked us out of the Europa League a few years ago. You really didn't want to travel to Genk. So this team out is Red Star Belgrade. So this is the one I want. This is who I want in Group B. Galatasaray team we should probably beat, but I think Belgrade would be a more comfortable one. I know going to Serbia, it's a really hostile environment and it's not the best place to go as a team, but I think it would be better to get them than Galatasaray. And Belgrade here can be either A or B. And if he wants to go faster here, it's Group B. So we have got Red Star Belgrade. So that is a really good draw for us. That's a great draw. We've Bayern Munich from Pot 1. It's a difficult team, sure, but we have been drawn in a group with Bayern Munich, Olympiacos and Red Star Belgrade, which, as I said, it's a draw I'm happy with. The last one here, just going through the formalities, Galatasaray have been put into a group. They're going into Group A, I think. Yeah, so they're going into Group A with PSG, Real Madrid and Club Brugge. So they really dragged that out, but definitely a very, very good draw for us in that one. As I said, we've gotten Bayern Munich, Olympiacos and Red Star Belgrade. So put down in the chat what you think about that draw. Are you happy with it? Would you have wished we got some stronger teams, some weaker teams? Aside debate saying, what do the blue and red boxes mean? I'm not sure. Is that on? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Tarek saying Bayern is not that strong. They're not that strong, but I mean they're one of the domestic league winners in the competition. So it is one of the worst draws that we could have gotten. But look, we had to get a big team, and I'm happy it was them. It could have been Barcelona, it could have been PSG, Juventus, which would have been much more difficult. Messiah debate saying much worse than Galatasaray that we got. Red Star Belgrade. Phantom really happy he doesn't have to go to Genk. Tarek saying we can fight for first place. It could be Messiah Tuesday, Wednesday matches. I'm not too sure. Alan Harry saying about time we had a decent draw, which is really fair, and I think it is because we have been put into pot 2. It's not the pot 3. We're going to be facing 2 teams who have been seeded higher than us. I think this is great that we have been put into. We were in pot 2, and it kind of promised an easier draw, and it is what we have gotten. Just before I end the stream, Nikola Mitrovic saying you were happy now for Red Star. See you with the hellhole. Phantom saying good group. I think we should get through. Alexander Hinton saying can you live stream the round of 16? Look, that's a really long way away. I'm not too sure. Look, if I can, I will, of course. Yeah, Alex, I will if I can. Messiah saying of the groups, which one looks the most exciting or most competitive to you? Well, the most competitive. Let's have a quick look back over them here. There's a few groups there that you can look at and think really not going to be fun. I'd say Group D, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen and Lokomotiv Moscow. Really, really tough group there. I think Group G is probably the most interesting one, that you have Zenit from pot 1, who are probably the weakest team in there, and then RB Leipzig from pot 4, probably the strongest team. Very, very strange one, that. And Group H, I think as well, Chelsea, Ajax, Valencia and Lille. A very good group as well. I look forward to those games. Alexander Hilton asked about the North London Derby. I will not be able to stream on Sunday. I've worked straight after the game, so I won't be able to live stream after it. But again, I'll be here on Monday reviewing that game, and hopefully it'll be a very different mood to the video I posted on Monday about the Newcastle game. Look, I want to thank, there's been over 14,000 of you join me for this Champions League draw live stream. I'm really happy with the draw, and by this, as Mako80 is saying, really happy with who we did get. So if you have enjoyed this stream, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Thanks to everyone who has joined me along, and I hope you're happy with the draw that we've got. Thanks for watching.